held at a high prestige for their existence.
Basically, they're celebrating the hardworking men, be it young or old, the good fathers and stuff like that, persons around the world. So, well, yeah, basically that.
Is it easier to say I love you, or is it easier to ask for help?
As a man, it's an issue because anytime you ask for help, you're showing them that you're vulnerable, and that is something a man never wants to do.
What's a Tobago man to you?
A good Tobago man is a man who is family oriented.
A true Tobago man, it didn't have nothing about Maggie and all the artificial stuff. It was just pure seasoning and love and joy and that kind of thing.
How do you deal with grief?
Just be out the house, do something fun, go play sports. Just line with the boys, do something that
Basically, go back to your community.
that will keep you away from just distract your mind for a bit.
What is it day that you actually felt like a man?
If you look sharp, well, give me more money or helping you with those and things.
That is responsibility there, where accountability right there.
I started to build little muscles and things. So, you started walking with your chest high and thing, looking like a man. So, yeah.
So my question is, what do women usually say about men?
I can't say it on camera either, but I could tell you what I would say about men.
Go ahead.
I love men.
What is something that women always say about men?
Yeah, man, cheap, eh?
They're not good, they're bad.
Men is dog.
So we've been going through Scarborough, calling all the way from Assembly Legislature, asking about International Men's Day. I'm going to continue discussion and a debate on the 10th of November 2025 about male identity and male mental health. Hope to see you there in the chambers or live. What do women usually say about men?
As a man, you have to get it done by any means necessary. And so you know that there is no option for failure. And so when that time comes that you may potentially fail, how do you deal with that? And so when you see someone hangs themselves or commit suicide, you have to go back to the root cause of what would have brought that person to that point. And that is why programs such as this is important.
They said I couldn't make it, they laughed, called me crazy, but I kept my focus, stay committed, never lazy. Now I'm breaking through, rising up above the crowd. I'm living proof, I'ma say it out loud.
What does it mean to be a man?
A Tobago man is resilient,
disciplined,
confident,
royal, self-reliant.
A Tobago man is responsible.
Men have so much expectation from society, from the world at large, from family. There is so much expected of the male man, and when you look around in society, men are tired, men are burdened, men are the breadwinners, the protectors, the superhero that doesn't wear the cape. Men are called to be the head, the leaders, but the stats shows presently that most men die before their spouse, because all men do is just work to try to provide, to try to build a family. Men don't even have the opportunity to take the time to have proper discourse. I'm talking about a real male man that has took his place in society. I ain't talking about a man that just living idly by the rum shop or just wasting his life away. I'm talking about the man that decides to take his responsibility very seriously. There is so much. Imagine just like for me, for instance, sometimes I say to myself, when can I find the balance? And I've come up with a solution. Just find your rhythm and work your rhythm, because you would never find the balance as a good man. You would never ever find the balance as a good. From the time you accomplish something, you're on to the next.
Men generally speaking, not in every case, generally speaking, the man is lazy. Look at the woman. The woman gets into a job and she is spending every minute that she has in self-improvement. Where is the man in all of this? Man is in the wrong shop. Man is on the bridge. Man is peddling drugs. Yes, that's the reality that we all face. And unless we come to as men and decide that this is not the way to go. But we need now to pull ourselves together and be creative, be productive, do the right thing.
Identity of men is what's up for question. Some years ago, in my father time and even before, a man would have been defined by going out in the garden, providing for his family, and that's about it. But now we have to be one who have to be balancing our emotions, having emotional intelligence, really balancing one's perspective, understanding that we can't be flying off the handle, and even our position in terms of stating of opinion is one that we may have to rein in, or we could be cancelled because that's the trendy thing, But I must say that it's still a learning experience for all men.
I grew up in a village where you have naturally aggressive men. I'm from Plymouth, and I mean it's known around the space. But in terms of love, you as a man, you have to know when to give, especially in terms of children, because I have a son that is 17 years of age and I love him to death. But that cannot prevent you from doing what is right and laying down the law when it's necessary. But you also have to make them comfortable enough to have the conversation with you about anything and everything. And sometimes you have to know basically when to tone down this aggression and be welcoming and be warm. You have to make them feel that you are confident that they can rely on you, that they can relate to you, and that they can call on you at all times.
Now, we're going to do a toast to International Men's Day, to men talking, because real men talk, and men coming together as a community. Hip hip.
Hooray.
Cheers.
Tobago, listen up. This one gonna be real talk, real men, real issues. I am Akil Andrews, aka Beard Boss, your presiding officer for the Assembly Legislature's first ever International Men's Day debate on November 10th at 10 a.m. in the chamber. Fellas, let me reason. This is we space to talk about men's mental health and men's identity. No filter, no shame, just truth. So pull up to the chamber or tune in live on Facebook or YouTube on November 10th at 10 a.m. Tobago, fall in. Remember, real men talk. Let us pray. Almighty God, as we have come together to begin our meeting of the Assembly, we humbly beseech you to grant to all our members the light and guidance of your Holy Spirit, that we may wisely take counsel together and come to such decisions as such promote your glory and the well-being of our citizens in this our land, so that the peace and happiness, truth and justice may be enjoyed by all our people. Grant this for the sake of our Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Members, you may be seated.
Oath of allegiance of a new member. Announcements by the presiding officer.
Honorable House, I have received leave of absence from Assemblyman Justin John, member for Plymouth Blackrock. The leave is granted.
Assembly laws brought back from Parliament. Petitions, papers, presentation of reports from Dispute Resolution Commission, Select Committees, Communication and Outreach Committee.
Leader of Assembly Business.
Good day, everybody. Mr. Presiding Officer, I stand to lead the report of the Communication and Outreach Committee of the Tobago House of Assembly 2021 to 2025.
Member for Signal Hill Patience Hill, Assemblyman Mackenzie Prince Martin.
Question number 1 is directed to the Secretary with responsibility for health, wellness, and social protection, Councillor Akeem Allen.
Secretary of Health, Councillor Akeem Allen.
Is there a policy in the Tobago Regional Health Authority that allows fathers to be in the delivery room to help their significant other during delivery? A, if yes, when are parents informed of this? B, if not, is the Secretary comfortable depriving fathers of the opportunity to assist the mothers of their children and to bond with their babies at birth? Mr. Presiding Officer, I can certainly give clarity on that question. In the Tobago Regional Health Authority, anyone identified as a significant other by the pregnant mother, including fathers and husbands, are informed that any prenatal antenatal clinic in any health center before the birth of their child are not just being in the delivery room, but to be a part of postnatal care in order to support the mother after delivery. There is also a drive to make the hospital baby-friendly, with a key part is having all men be involved in the delivery of their child. We in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection have made and will continue to make sure to have our fathers present, to hold their child, and to appreciate what they have helped to create. Also, we have the National Breastfeeding Initiative created in 2020, where in it, the mother can request anyone in the delivery room, which includes our fathers. As the Tobago House of Assembly is a part of the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, this is a directive we follow. I think it's clear that the member for Signal Hill/Patience Hill has not done his research before coming here today to ask such an uninformed question. Mr. Presiding Officer, I hope when the member for Signal Hill/Patience Hill gets a wife or girlfriend to help increase Tobago's population.
Disrespectful.
You don't know.
I think the
status of my colleague as a father is totally irrelevant to the question that was posed to the member on the other side.
Mr. Presiding Officer, standing order 25, sorry, order 25, the entire subsection of that, and standing order 26, which is contents of questions and manner of asking and answering questions. It is not a debate. He cannot call relevance in that. He's setting a dangerous precedent.
I agree 100%.
Member, you may proceed.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I hope when the member for Signal Hill, Patience Hill, gets a wife or girlfriend to help increase Tobago's population, you will get to experience how pro-family and pro-father we are in the division of health, wellness, and social protection.
Members, I'm on my feet. Member for Roxborough Argyle, Assemblyman Daniel Jack.
Question 2 to the Secretary of Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, Assemblyman Zeshon Lovelace.
Secretary of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, Sustainable Development, Assemblyman Zeshon Lovelace.
Will the Secretary outline what initiatives the division has introduced to support older male farmers and fishermen in Tobago, particularly in light of the economic and environmental challenges that threaten their livelihoods? Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I thank the Honourable Member for the question. Our division continues to take meaningful action to support our older male farmers and fishermen whose work remains vital to Tobago's food security and cultural heritage. Firstly, we have strengthened our farm support and production incentive efforts by increasing access to seedlings, fertilizer, irrigation equipment, and practical climate-smart training developed directly within farming communities. This helps our long-serving farmers manage rising costs and adapt to changing weather while remaining productive on the land. Secondly, we have expanded support for fishermen, particularly in the maintenance of vessels, engines, nets, and safety equipment. This assistance helps older men operate more safely and consistently at sea, even in challenging economic and environmental conditions that threaten their earnings. Thirdly, we have been providing livelihood transition support to help aging farmers and fishermen explore less physically demanding opportunities such as agrotourism, aquaponics, and small-scale value-added processing. This ensures they remain economically active, able to pass on their knowledge and maintain dignity even after reducing heavy labor. Mr. Presiding Officer, our focus remains real support, real service, and real results. Today, we are not just talking, we are doing. And through these continued efforts, we are helping to keep Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Member for Bagatelle Bacolet, Assemblyman Keith George.
Question to the Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, Councillor Alex Job Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Question number 3. With the visible drop in the number of males pursuing a career in teaching, can the Secretary indicate what is being done to create a gender priority in the Tobago's teaching service? Mr. Presiding Officer, let me indicate to this House that when I entered the division, what I met, left by my colleagues opposite, was untenable. And we are currently having conversations with the necessary stakeholders because it has to be a collaborative effort. And when that is completed, the House will be duly informed.
Members, be so guided that you are only allowed to speak when I call on you. Member for Darrow Springwim, Minority Leader, Assemblyman Keegan Denoon.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Question number 4 to the Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Assemblyman Rochon Trim.
Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Assemblyman Rochon Trim.
Question number 4. In keeping with the theme of International Men's Day, will the Secretary indicate what will be done to promote positive masculinity, responsible fatherhood, and community engagement among Tobago's men and boys through its ongoing programs and sporting initiatives? Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, for the opportunity to answer this question brought forth by the minority side. In recognition of the International Men's Day and its theme of promoting positive masculinity and the responsible fatherhood, the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sports continue to prioritize programs that empower Tobago's men and boys. Through our youth empowerment and mentorship program, we provide workshops and life skills training and that encourage emotional intelligence and conflict resolution and leadership development among young men. Our community-based men's support circle offer a safe space for men to discuss challenges relating to men's mental health, parenting, and social responsibility, while connecting with them to counseling and empowerment support services. In addition, our sporting initiatives include football, athletics, and community leagues. These are used to teach discipline, teamwork, and respect. We also plan to host a men's wellness and fatherhood forum later this year to engage fathers and mentors and strengthening fatherhood bonds and active fatherhood. Altogether, these efforts aim to build a culture of respect, accountability, and community improvement among Tobago's men and boys. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Request for leave to move the adjournment of the Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance, statement by secretaries or assistant secretaries, personal explanations, introduction of bills, motions relating to the business or sitting of the Assembly and moved by a secretary or assistant secretary. Private business, motion.
Minority Leader, you may now stand to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. In keeping with Standing Order 42.6, I seek leave to read extracts from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
Mr. Presiding Officer, honorable members of this House, my fellow Tobagonians, it breaks my heart as the minority this morning to have to move a motion such as this, because it means that the government, the people that Tobago would have put their faith and hope in, has once again showed their inability to govern and lead this island. Mr. Presiding Officer, before I utter another word, I ask my colleagues to join me for a moment of silence. A moment of silence for the young men, for the boys, for the old men and those in between, who would have found it necessary, because of no help or access to help, to take their own lives, because that was the only way out. So I invite us to have a moment of silence for those who would have taken their lives. Thank you. And I want that silence to remain as a reminder of what this government has done for the men of Tobago. Nothing. Mr. Presiding Officer, the motion before us is as follows. Whereas International Men's Day highlights the importance of addressing the unique challenges faced by men and boys in society, and whereas the Tobago man faces an identity crisis in the midst of shifting cultural, social, and economic pressures, and whereas men in Tobago are disproportionately affected by mental health struggles, including rising rates of suicide, substance abuse, and unresolved trauma. Be it resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly establish a sustainable, multi-sectorial program to effectively address the challenges plaguing men in Tobago society, including, but not limited to, men's mental health, positive male identity, and the teaching of healthy and responsible coping mechanisms. Be it further resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly fosters collaboration among governmental and non-governmental organizations to restore balance, empower men, and strengthen the social fabric of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, today is a historic day in the history of not only Trinidad and Tobago, but more specifically here in Tobago. For the first time in the history of this assembly, we have an all-male assembly, and that deserves a round of applause. After 7, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 successive programs such as this for women, they finally found it fit to have one for the men. I mean, the government does get some things right sometimes, and deserve a round of applause for that as well. Today, we make history by asking this House to acknowledge that our men are in crisis. And we will make even greater history if the minority and the majority stand united in this motion. We have championed the empowerment of women, as we should. But that march of progress, we have neglected our young men. We have left them unsupported, unmentored, and unseen. We have failed men, and yes, men have failed men. While women have built networks of solidarity, too many of us, and I include myself in this, have stood by in silence as our brothers fell behind. This motion, Mr. Presiding Officer, is not about politics. It's about people, about the betterment of all Tobagonians. The figures are indeed heartbreaking. Based on the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, in 2022, 142 persons took their life by suicide. 142. Of that, 123 were men, representing 87%. In 2023, 104 persons took their lives by suicide. Of that, 81 were men. In the past 5 years, 561 persons have taken their lives by suicide. However, when you look at the statistics, 4 in every 5 of those were men. Something is terribly wrong in our country. Here in Tobago, the data gathered by the Division of Health shows and confirms the same pattern. The thing is, men seek help too late, if at all. Silence has become our single greatest killer. I will be fair and congratulate where congratulations are due. And it's good to see that this government has continued the blue room from the former government. I mean, you have to come up with something of your own idea, that would be nice. Outreach programs we see from the Division of Health. However, that is not enough. Mr. Presiding Officer, these are fragments, not a framework. The blue room serves just a few. Our crisis spans the island. One-off health days cannot treat a generational wound. And while our men perish in silence, we still have no published Tobago men strategy no statutory paternity leave, no father-inclusive NIS benefit, no dedicated male mental health network. And this failure, might I say, belongs squarely to the sitting administration. The thing is, they came into office promising that they would fix it. We didn't promise that, they did. But you cannot call yourselves a government of the people while ignoring the pain of men who built this island. Our boys are vanishing in plain sight. 70%, and I want you to pay particular attention to the numbers, 70% of our lowest performing students are male, while 80% of teachers are female. These are facts, not criticism, but they reveal a void. Our boys have few male examples in their daily lives. They are taught how to behave, not how to become. Disciplined but not directed. Punished for failure instead of being prepared for purpose. We are raising boys without blueprints and then blaming them when the structure collapses. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is a culture of neglect. We live in a society that expects men to lead, yet strips them of the tools to do so. We ask men to be strong, yet provide no space for them to be vulnerable. We tell fathers to be present, yet offer 2 or 3 days paternity leave under CPO directive, not even under law. Men pay the same NIS contributions as women, but receive no equivalent benefit. That is not equality, Mr. Presiding Officer. That is inequality. Wearing a suit and smiling for the cameras. If families are the foundation of our society, then fatherhood is the cornerstone, and we have been neglecting it. It is imperative that we make paternity leave statutory, create paternity benefit, and value fatherhood not in speeches, but in statute. Mr. Presiding Officer, to my colleagues on the other side, all of you are men, I hope. So I ask, if men in power will not defend men in pain, who will? Stop hiding behind slogans and photo ops. Stop applauding yourselves for half measures while fathers die in despair and sons drop out of school. Tobago deserves leadership, not lip service. This is a moment to prove that compassion still beats in the heart of your governance. What we need, Mr. Presiding Officer, is a gender-specific approach, because one size does not fit all. Men express pain differently. They turn it inward. They drown it in alcohol, anger, and isolation sometimes. We need a men's mental health network, district-based clinics open after hours, run by male counselors, linked to churches, sports clubs, and workplaces. We need a community mentorship, anger management training, skills development, linked to employment and family reconnection programs that brings fathers back into the lives of their children. Mr. Presiding Officer, you would agree with me that equality is not sameness. Equality is fairness. And fairness requires acknowledging that men and women need different forms of help to reach the same human dignity. Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion is not a showpiece. It is a social contract. We recommend that a men and boys scorecard be published every year on November 19th, tracking male suicides, school performance, employment, and family participation. Let there be accountability, not applause. The Tobago House of Assembly must integrate this program across all divisions, ensuring that every division play its part. Only then will Tobago have a data-driven framework that is worthy of representing its men. Mr. Presiding Officer, when a man fails, a family trembles. And when families crumble, communities collapse. For decades, we have empowered women, and that was a good thing to do. But now, balance demands that we also empower men. Because a strong woman without a strong man beside her is still a part of an unbalanced society. This motion is not about taking anything from women. It is about restoring what men have lost: purpose, pride, and peace. Mr. Presiding Officer, colleagues, this is more than policy. This is a plea from every son who grew up without guidance, from every father who could not afford time to bond with his child, from every man too ashamed to ask for help. Let us ensure that the next man on this island who feels that he has nothing left to live for will find a hand reaching out to him instead of us seeing a news article about his death the following day. Mr. Presiding Officer, it is said that a broken man hides behind silence, not because he has nothing to say, but because no one ever truly listens. Thus, as a society, we have a choice. It's either we build boys with purpose today or spend tomorrow repairing broken men.
Member, your speaking time has ended.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I request that my colleague, the Minority Leader, be given 2 extra minutes to complete his contribution.
No extra time is given. Honorable members, the question proposed, whereas International Men's Day highlights the importance of addressing the unique challenges faced by men and boys in society, and whereas the Tobago man faces an identity crisis in the midst of shifting cultural, social, and economic pressures, and whereas men in Tobago are disproportionately affected by mental health struggles, including rising rates of suicide, substance abuse, and unresolved trauma. Be it resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly established a sustainable multi-sectoral program to effectively address the challenges plaguing men in Tobago society, including, but not limited to, men's mental health, positive male identity, and the teaching of healthy and responsible coping mechanisms. Be it further resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly foster collaboration among governmental and non-governmental organizations to restore balance and empower men and strengthen the social fabric of Tobago. Member for Palliative Islands, Ms. Speyside. Chief Secretary Akanabi Holder, may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. And I want to say it's truly an honor to be standing in this house with so many upstanding men to discuss such a pressing matter that affects everyone in Tobago, every man, every woman, and every child. And I want to take this opportunity to wish you an early, happy International Men's Day, as well as to my colleagues in the legislature, and to all men in Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago and the worldwide, a happy early International Men's Day. Mr. Presiding Officer, when I came here this morning, I wanted to be courteous, but the minority came out swinging, so we will swing as well. I want to congratulate the minority, though, for bringing this motion, because for the first time, yes, congratulate yourselves, because for the first time in 4 years, they've actually brought a motion that makes sense. For the first time in 4 years, they're actually taking up the mandate. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, though their intentions are well-meaning, the end result is lacking. This motion, Mr. Presiding Officer, is a skeleton. But we on this side, we're very magnanimous. We on this side, we're very generous. We on this side, we're very kind. And as such, we're going to put some meat on the bones. In my various discussions as Assemblyman for the Electoral District of Palliative Islands from the Speyside, I've had conversations with many, many men inside and outside of my electoral district, and men face many, many challenges. And upon reflection, I've come to realize that many of these men, they don't seek help, or there aren't structures there to help them because of the conditioning that they've received at boyhood and the attitudes that society has towards men, that we don't need help, we should solve all our problems on our own, Mr. Presiding Officer. And because of these attitudes, men are left to languish and our health is in poor condition. As such, I believe that this program that the minority is suggesting will not be effective unless we have a targeted public education campaign aimed towards dismantling the harmful conditioning that men receive, and it has a goal towards improving men's mental health. Mr. Presiding Officer, I'm of the firm belief that the quality of society that we live in is directly connected to the quality of men's mental health. It is easier to raise healthy boys than it is to fix broken men. Mr. Presiding Officer, and I'm not just suggesting these public education campaigns just because I think they're good. International studies show that public education campaigns have success in changing attitudes, particularly when it comes to men's mental health and men's attitude towards their mental health. It has shown success in dismantling those harmful stereotypes, those harmful expectations, those harmful conditionings that our boys and men undergo and are thrust upon by society. It has also showed that these public education campaigns lead men towards seeking help. And that is what we want, Mr. Presiding Officer. We want, when the pressures of life come down upon our men, that they seek the help that they need. Mr. Presiding Officer, there is currently a program in 4 African countries being executed by an international NGO called Equimundo. And what Equimundo is there for, they're trying to bring gender parity globally. And these 4 countries are Morocco, Rwanda, South Africa, and Uganda. In the initial findings, they found that in their public education campaign, 80% of respondents have stated that they have an increased awareness of men's issues. And that's just the beginning. That's where we need to start. We need to have an increased awareness of men's issues. 75% of those respondents noted that they have changed their attitude towards men's issues. And a significant percentage of men said that they will now seek out help and engage in positive behaviors, and that is what we want, Mr. Presiding Officer. We want men to not resort to toxic behaviors, but we want them to go out and seek help. Mr. Presiding Officer, it has also shown that communal and national conversations have been sparked due to these public education campaigns, and even in some situations, men have said that they're going to change their behaviors, and when the pressures hit them, they are going to seek help. So the evidence is clear that public education campaigns work, Mr. Presiding Officer. But I know that pleading to the humanistic side or the humanistic plight of men do not move some people in our society. But let us talk about what moves people. Money. Let us talk about the economic cost to poor men's mental health. In an April 20th, 2023 Trinidad Guardian article, Professor Andres Rengifo of Rutgers University in the United States of America, he did a study on the economic impact of violence in Trinidad and Tobago. And he estimated that it cost the government of Trinidad and Tobago a whopping $1 billion annually to deal with violence in this country. He also noted that while murders account for less than 1%, Mr. Presiding Officer, of the violent reported crimes in Trinidad and Tobago, each murder cost the government of Trinidad and Tobago $350,000 US. Mr. Presiding Officer, that's over $2 million per murder in this country. And we have 400 to 600 murders on average per year. So you see, Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a lot of incentives financially and otherwise to engage in a public education campaign. And in closing, I just want to say, Mr. Presiding Officer, that the rescue of our boys and our men need to be dealt with as a matter of national urgency. National urgency, Mr. Presiding Officer. And we on this side, we are committed to doing our part to rescuing our boys and our men. I will say it again, Mr. Presiding Officer, the quality of society that we live in is directly connected to the quality of our men's mental health. Every single one of us need to ask ourselves, what kind of quality, what kind of society do you want to live in? I thank you.
Honourable members, we did not receive a seconder for the motion. Is there a seconder? Member for Roxborough Argyle.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I beg to second this motion.
Member for Roxborough Argyle, Assemblyman Daniel Jack, you may now join the debate.
Thank you. And a pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Presiding Officer, members of the Assembly, my esteemed colleagues participating in this morning's debate, members of the public and the viewing media. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is not a photo op. This is not a media release. The motion put forward this morning is a commitment of reform. A pleasure when these cameras turn off and the headlines fade that the work will continue. We of the minority, we do not intend to measure this motion by applause, instead by the lives that are changed. The fathers who could find hope again, the young men who choose mentorship over mischief. We rise this morning not only as members of this honorable house, but as Tobago men, as sons, as fathers, as citizens who have seen and felt firsthand the pressures that weigh upon men in our society today. I rise in support of this historic motion, one that dares not just to speak about men, but for their restoration. Today is just as our leader said, today is not about politics, today is about restoration and rebalancing for our men. The theme for International Men's Day reminds us to celebrate men, highlight their achievements, and raise awareness in males' well-being. Yet how can we celebrate what we refuse to heal? How can we promote the male role model while ignoring the male in crisis? This motion began when our minority made a call. Our men are dying and suffering in silence. The figures that he read today, they were not just numbers, they were tombstones. He said it best. We are raising boys.
Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. He said it best. We are raising boys without blueprints and then blaming them when the structure collapses. Why should a family from Mason Hall have to return home only to find that their 28-year-old son has gone? And the only words that somebody could offer them is that he was smiling through the pain. That smile, that wasn't peace. It was a mask. So I ask you now, how many more of our young men are we going to lose to this silent epidemic before we realize that men's mental health is of utmost importance? Mr. Presiding Officer, frankly speaking, our men, they are suffering. They are breaking. While some are striving, some are barely surviving. They are taught to be strong, but not how to be vulnerable. They are told to provide, but not how to ask for help. And so without healthy outlets to release their pain, it often festers up inside. Or worse, we see it come out outside. We often see it in the form of anger, violence, abuse, emotional withdrawal. This is not a weakness, This is untreated trauma. Mr. Presiding Officer, we cannot keep telling these men to be strong without giving them a space to put their weakness. Our response to this must not be sincere. It must not be structured. What we need are mentorship programs, community-based initiatives, sported activities, faith-based accountability initiatives. These are not life luxuries, These are lifelines. And Mr. Presiding Officer, real restoration, it cannot happen through isolation. Restoration must come from every corner of our island. Government alone cannot heal what culture has wounded. What we need, that's why we must incorporate the moral aspect of this. We must incorporate the churches so that they give emotional and moral support. We must also encourage the NGOs to be the backbone and support system for these men when they feel that they have nowhere to go and nobody to turn to. Mr. Presiding Officer, the same way we mobilize for disaster relief is the same way we can mobilize for male relief. Mr. Presiding Officer, my goodly colleague, we love to talk about men, we love to talk about healing, we love to talk about male mentorship. But today, our words, it could only inspire, but budgets, that is what sustain. Which is why if we are serious about restoring our men, it must be reflected in TH's next year three-year rolling program. Funding for mental health, community programs, they cannot run on good intention or charity. It must be policy. It must be measured, documented, and monitored. Because as we build structures of accountability, we are now building pillars for sustainability. To my sisters in this house and across Tobago, let me be clear. This is not a motion against women. This is a call for humanity. You are often the first to notice when a man is not himself, when he's struggling, when he's withdrawn. Be the listening and nudge judgmental ear that says it's okay to feel, it's okay to talk. Because when women stand by their men as they seek help, when mothers encourage their sons to talk up, when women empower champion male mental health as a part of national wellness, that is true allyship. And to our men, you also have a duty. Be the role model you wish you had. Be the mentor. Pick up a boy in need. It is time for us to change that stigma and that concept us when we are referred to as dishonest, overbearing, and greedy. Let next year, when they're capturing and celebrating Father's Day, and we're actually scrolling through social media and zooming in pictures that they actually have a man in the photo and not just a woman and child. Colleagues, restoration is a moment, not a movement. A movement that begins with empathy, grows through collaboration, and lasts through accountability. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago House of Assembly has a moral and institutional obligation to ensure that our boys and men are not left behind in this island's agenda. Let Tobago be the home for international men's restoration, where the father in pain can come to find a place to heal, where the boy without a mentor finds a father. Let every man know that his life matters. So and where I began. This is not a photo op. This is a promise that the applause will fade, but the work of the minority will continue. Because when our men rises, Tobago rises up with them. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, my brothers in arms, my fellow Tobagonians, I ask that when a decision has to be made today, I only ask that this plays around in your mind. When the man is busy taking care of everybody, who is taking care of the man? Thank
you. Member for Belgarden Glamorgan, Assemblyman Rishon Trim, we now join the debate.
Mr. Officer, a pleasant morning is extended to you, Mr. Presiding Officer, members of the majority side and my fellow colleagues on this side. Minority side, sorry. I would like to take this opportunity to wish every man and young man within the hearing of my voice a happy International Men's Day in advance. Before I begin, I seek leave on Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my content.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I am Rishon Trim, the representative for the electoral district of Belgarden Glamorgan, and I am honored to be a part of today's debate. In keeping with the motion, I agree that men's mental health should be addressed. However, I do not believe that this debate should be based only on adult male mental health, but more on the source, where the issues we have in society comes from. Mr. Presiding Officer, I first want to highlight that often we neglect or we just want to dismiss the emotional needs of boys, young boys, as is done by the motion brought forth by the minority side. I assure you that when we neglect the emotional needs, that it leads to all the issues we have in today's society with the crime and the violence present. If we want to stop the flow of the river by only tending to the flood at the delta, then we are at a loss. We must address the source. When these psychological and emotional factors are dismissed, it causes that young boy to internalize the built up emotions inside. And then when he grows up, when he has his own family, his first instinct will be to attack them in aggression, whether it's through fear, insecurity, stress, or addiction. And this is why we have the crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Because like that young lady who was minced to bits recently in the news, and she was put in a suitcase, we asked ourselves what drives that to take place. According to research from the American Psychological Association and the Oxford University Press, the psychological factors that affect boys start from adolescence most times. And failure to deal with these results in teens and even younger boys struggling to find a sense of self and future. Statistics shows from the World Health Organization that globally, 14.3% of adolescents, 185 million of them face mental disorder. 20%, 259 million are out of learning institutions. And not that they graduate. I know we might think that. But not that they graduate. They drop out of school. And then we have 13%, 168 million unemployed. And that's why they're making mischief. This just reiterates the fact that adolescence is the foundation where a development of a man's being is where it evolves. So I ask, as the representative for my side of the majority on this side of the horseshoe, let's work together in being proactive, please. Let's work together. Let's work together to stop this. Mr. Presiding Officer, I would like to say that I would like to propose that we as the majority side could add to any solutions hosted by the majority. Any solution, anything they come up with, we could add to it. And not just focus on the Blue Room, which we already have exists, but install more programs in schools to truly encourage and engage young men to deal with the different issues they have in their lives, and to foster a sense of positive direction in terms of the identity and building up self-confidence. Mr. Presiding Officer, as I close, I would like to say that let's not forget the boys in today's society and their emotional and psychological needs, because they are our tomorrow. And in order to fix these issues, we must address the source. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, for this opportunity.
Member for Bethesda Lekitu, Assemblyman Joanna Cornwall, may join in the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the minority on this bill. This is indeed a good bill, right? And we on the majority side here, we would take responsibility, but not the blame. This has been a problem ongoing in Tobago for a very long time. And while you all sat on this side, you all did nothing. And coming here now with a bill to talk like if it has something going on, right? That is our holiday, and we here. Because it is clear that the minority doesn't understand Tobago. As usual, you're out of touch. You all will be found wanting. You know, you're like, no substance. Like callaloo without crab.
That is it.
We don't want that over here. Tobago don't want that. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, honorable colleagues, men and boys of Tobago, today is not just another date on the calendar. It is a moment for reflection and redirection. As leader of Assembly Business and a proud member of Bethesda Lescato, I rise today to say that International Men's Day in Tobago must be more than ceremonial. It must be transformational. It must be the beginning of how we restore our men, our families, and the very soul of this island. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago man stands at a crossroads. He carries the weight of expectation to provide, to protect, to lead, but too often he does it alone. Our men are fighting invisible battles, mental health struggles, financial strain, emotional confusion, and identity crisis worsen by shifting culture and social tides. We must face the truth. Men in Tobago are hurting. And when our men hurt, our homes, our children, and our communities feel it. We cannot heal Tobago without first healing the men who hold us together. This house must be moved beyond recognition and towards resolution. Because all the minority did today was recognize the problem. But we, on the majority side, we would find the resolution. So yes, I stand in full support of this motion. The idea is lacking on that side, but you know, that's why we here, right? So we would create a multi-sectoral program to confront the crisis that our men face. But we would not treat it as another talking point. This is a moral obligation. Our policies must reflect compassion. Our planning must reflect urgency. Ain't not to do like next year, this is to do today. This is to happen now. Right? Because all you know, if we do not build strong men today, we will just continue repairing broken families, like the majority had to do. So what do? The first thing that we have to do is create men's wellness hubs across Tobago. Not just one little room there. No. That's not what we have planned here. We want to create safe spaces around Tobago where men can heal without shame. The second thing, we must redefine fatherhood. Normalize men's involvement in the delivery room like my great Secretary of Health already did. And then we must normalize themselves in the classroom and in the home. Too often mothers growing up with single mothers is a normal thing. We have to change that. And to change that, we have to come together. The third thing is connecting potential with purpose. So all our skilled laborers, all our skilled entrepreneurs, all our skilled leaders, we need to have them train the younger folks. As my friend also stated, we need to start with the young boys. You understand? We need to start there and come up. And fourth, we need to get into the schools through media and social programs as well as sport, let us rebuild the narrative of what it means to be a Tobago man. A Tobago man is strong yet gentle, disciplined yet compassionate, firm yet kind. Mr. Presiding Officer, Tobago must lead the Caribbean in redefining masculinity. With a model that integrates mental health, culture, and family, let us be remembered for the generation that didn't just speak about men. We stood for them. Because when our men are whole, our families thrive. When our family thrives, Tobago prospers. To every man listening today, you are needed. You are valued. And you are not forgotten. Your healing begins now. I thank you. Please proceed.
Member for Signal Hill Patience, Assemblyman Makesi Prince Martin, you want to join the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I extend greetings to all the members in this august horseshoe, minority and majority alike. I extend greetings to the beautiful people seated in the gallery, those online, and the members of the media. Mr. Presiding Officer, I seek leave under Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
I am Assemblyman Makesi Prince Martin, proud representative for the constituency of Signal Hill, Patience Hill, and I stand here in full support of this motion that calls for a multi-sectorial strategic program to confront the issues faced by the Tobago man. You see, according to a publication by Fleming et al., Caribbean masculinities are shaped by gender norms, and these norms define a real man as someone who has achieved status and power. But this drives men to embody characteristics like aggression, promiscuity, risk-taking, dominance, independence, and unbelievable, unrealistic levels of control. Many men just cannot measure up. And many men see reliance on others, especially for psychological and emotional support, as weakness. And this results in silent suffering that manifests in health issues such as hypertension, high blood pressure, substance misuse, and sexual issues like erectile dysfunction. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago man is known as the silent patient because there is no safe space for him to discuss issues like erectile dysfunction. Just ask the council over there. Presiding Officer, as I said before, some men cannot measure up and they bend and they break under the pressure. And this is seen in statistics. And when I say statistics, I know it would confuse the people on the other end because they don't know about statistics and numbers. We saw that in their budget presentation. Demographic features of homicide and suicide victims reveal that men are significantly predominant in committing suicides and homicides. And the age group 34 to 42 were at greatest risk. Presiding Officer, in the year 2025, between the months of January and June, there were 47 suicides. Of that number, 36 were men. But not everybody commits suicide and homicide. Some turn to substance abuse. Some were introduced to alcohol before the age of 5, and today, marijuana and cocaine are the drugs of choice. According to anecdotal evidence by some medical practitioners, Tobago men rarely misuse prescription drugs. But that is not out of discipline. It's basically because Tobago men seldom seek prescription drugs. They don't go to the doctor. And the link between mental illness and the use of substances is complex. Some men use substances to self-medicate their pain and the symptoms of mental illness, while others, substance use is the initial trigger for the symptoms of mental illness itself. Now I need to spell it out. What does a multi-sectorial program look like? And I need to spell it out for the benefit of the persons on the other side who have no imagination. The principle of sustainable partnerships is a vital mechanism for achieving economic development and, in this instance, the protection of the Tobago man. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, which emphasizes partnerships of these goals, is used as a reference point to illustrate collaboration amongst governmental agencies, private sector entities, and civil society. This would help men to build capacity and increase the access to integral services. Mr. Presiding Officer, I'm closing now. If we continue to ignore the mental health crisis that exists amongst our men, we risk losing an entire generation to silence, substance abuse, and despair. Mr. Presiding Officer, if any member on the opposing side votes against this motion, if they belittle this motion, they are not a friend of Tobago. And if they are not a friend of Tobago, the male members in their constituency should pelt them with ripe breadfruit. But if we act, if we create,
Mr. Presiding Officer, I stand under for a point of order. 44-4.
Members, be so guided. Please proceed.
Thank you. But Mr. Presiding Officer, if we act, if we create a sustainable, gender-responsive system that not only recognizes but responds to the needs of the Tobago man, we can cause transformation. We could transform pain into purpose. We could transform stigma into strength. But more significantly, we could transform hopelessness into healing. And if we do our part, all of us seated in this horseshoe, if we do our part, we could make Tobago the greatest island on God's green earth. Mr. Presiding Officer, I thank you for allowing me to contribute to this debate.
Member for Scarborough Mongrace, Assemblyman Zishon Lovelace, you may now join the debate.
Good morning, Mr. Presiding Officer, esteemed assemblymen, and members of the public in the gallery and online. Before I begin, I would like to wish everyone in this honorable chamber an early happy International Men's Day as we prepare to celebrate the sacrifices, contributions, and strengths of men in our society today. I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this debate in this August House, and I rise as a proud representative of my electoral district of Scarborough, Mongrace. Today, we confront an issue of urgent importance. It has become increasingly evident that many men in Tobago face identity crisis and mental health struggles. Mr. Presiding Officer, we have seen the consequences: broken families, emotional withdrawal, substance abuse, and in the worst cases, the loss of lives. Mr. Presiding Officer, before I come to this honorable chamber, I ensure to do my research thoroughly. And to the member of Signal Hill Patients Hill, we on the majority side do in fact know about statistics, because according to the Pan American Health Organization's 2022 Caribbean Mental Health Report, men in the Caribbean are 3 to 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Let that sink in, fellow assemblymen. Furthermore, The Ministry of Health, Mental Health Unit 2023, confirms that between 60% and 65% of all psychiatric admissions in Trinidad and Tobago are male, Mr. Presiding Officer. These are not just numbers. They represent fathers, brothers, uncles, and sons right here in our communities across Tobago. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, the crisis is real, and it is time enough that we come together and address this pressing issue. And yes, the majority agrees with the principle of the motion brought forward by the minority. We recognize and respect the intention to establish a sustainable multi-sectoral program to benefit the men of Tobago. However, Mr. Presiding Officer, when examined closely, this motion, although it's well-intentioned, simply does not go far enough, Mr. Presiding Officer. First of all, the motion focuses heavily on men who are already hurting. It treats the crisis only after the wounds are formed. But the truth is this, Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago man we are trying to repair is too often the Tobago boy we have ignored. And further research even shows that emotional and psychological patterns form very early. The Caribbean Development Bank Youth Outlook Report 2021 notes that male self-identity struggles and emotional instability often first emerge during adolescence. Additionally, men who suffer from depression commonly report that their mental health struggles begin between the ages of 12 and 18 years old. This means the crisis does not begin in adulthood, it begins in childhood. And by the time a boy becomes a man, the wounds are already deep. Therefore, we must examine core issues and adopt a preventive approach if we are truly serious about sustainability in Tobago, Mr. Presiding Officer. And as the youngest member contributing to this debate today, I speak not only for the present, but for the future. While this motion repeatedly references men, it fails to intentionally include boys, the very same boys who will soon become those men, Mr. Presiding Officer. According to the Ministry of Education's Annual Report 2022, boys continue to underperform academically across Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in the subjects of English language and mathematics. This often reflects deeper emotional and developmental challenges. In addition, the UNICEF Caribbean Situational Analysis 2020 found that 1 in 3 Caribbean children grows up without a consistent father figure, highlighting a clear mentorship and identity gap that begins early, Mr. Presiding Officer. And as stated before, identity and emotional patterns form in childhood. Early investment is better than late rescue. If we wait until a young man turns 18 years old to teach him emotional literacy, the sad truth is, we are intervening far too late, Mr. Presiding Officer. In fact, true sustainability requires a preventative framework, one that includes school-based emotional development, updated curricula tailored to male youth needs, mentorship program for boys, parenting and family support systems, and properly staffed guidance counseling services. I strongly believe that men are products of their early environment. And if Tobago truly wants strong fathers tomorrow, we must raise strong boys today, Mr. Presiding Officer. Therefore, while the majority says yes to a sustainable multi-sectoral program, we insist that it must be expanded to include early intervention in schools, mentorship from positive male role models, parental and family support systems, and youth development infrastructure. Because, Mr. Presiding Officer, a program that treats only men is half a solution, and half a solution is still a failure, Mr. Presiding Officer. In closing, Mr. Presiding Officer, the majority supports the principle of this motion. We commend the minority for bringing it forward, but in its current form, it does not go far enough to ensure true and lasting change, because if Tobago truly desires a sustainable future, we must not only repair broken men, we must build strong boys. And as Frederick Douglass once said, it is easier to build strong boys than to repair broken men. And with that being said, I thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Member for Lambo Lowlands. Assemblyman Wade James, join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Thank you, colleagues, majority and minority alike, members of the media and viewing public here and online. Mr. Presiding Officer, I seek leave on Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Mr. Presiding Officer, the reality is, the truth is, men do suffer from mental illness. Men suffer and suffer in silence. Unfortunately, it is part of our breeding. It's part of our nurturing. Mr. Presiding Officer, the minority, while bringing a well-intended motion, has left it lacking. It's like they just pick it up from the valley of dry bones. But don't worry, we in the majority will give it meat. And they have left us to explain to Tobago why this is important. Mr. Presiding Officer, one researcher writing for the Newport Institute states that 1 in 10 men suffer from some form of mental illness, namely depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. So let's bring that to the Tobago space. Tobago is a population of about 60 to 65,000, meaning that we have about Members, please be seated. Member, please continue. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. Yes, as I was saying, Mr. Presiding Officer, it means that the Tobago population of male is about 25 to 30,000. And if 1 in 10 men suffer from mental illness, it means that around this very horseshoe, Mr. Presiding Officer, at least two men here suffering from mental illness. And
Members, please remember the standing orders against the crosstalk. A member is on his feet. Member Philambo Lowlands, please continue.
You know, I sat here quietly listening to the member. I didn't know that he was so gaseous. And given the men population in Tobago, and that statistical number, it's about 2,500 men on this island that is suffering from mental illness. Mr. Presiding Officer, a major cause of mental illness in men can be triggered by life events, such as job loss, financial strain, which can cause diminished sense of self and mental health decline. Grief and loss, the death of a loved one, can significantly cause grief for men who are taught to suppress their emotions. Relationship issues, events such as divorce, separation, or worsening relationship with a partner, or waking up one morning and finding out that the child that you have grown, the child that you have bonded with for years, is not yours. These events can often lead to intense feeling of depression and cause of rapid reclusiveness. Mr. Presiding Officer, men suffering from one or more mental issues are often reluctant to seek help, because it's culturally expected for men to be stoic, strong, self-reliant, which often prevent them from admitting vulnerability and seeking professional help. Mr. Presiding Officer, instead of typical sadness, men's mental health struggle may manifest itself as irritability, anger, aggression, risk-taking behavior, or increase in use of drugs and alcohol. When these behaviors manifest, his peers, both male and female, passes it off as toxic masculinity, when in reality, he's simply crying out, Mr. Presiding Officer, crying out the only way he knows how. Because from a young age, he was taught not to show emotion. Big boys don't cry. What you crying for? Man up, what you afraid? A common phrases we all have heard.
Member, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish his presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. I think the ayes have it. Member, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. So from our early age, we learn to hide our feelings for fear of being labeled weak. But Mr. Presiding Officer, at some point, however, these emotions must come out. So what we must do as a responsible administration is to put measures in place to combat these mental illness, not just a multi-sectorial program. We must create male-centric programs, safe spaces that encourages men to speak with therapists and or counselors while giving the assurance that it's okay to express your emotions without fear of being judged or without your business being heard on the highways and the byways. And we know under the last administration, confidentiality was not necessary. We must encourage the building of support networks by encouraging men to reconnect with trusted family, friends, or joining support groups that can help combat harmful thoughts and behaviors. This is what we on this side, a responsible administration, is prepared to do to support this well-intended motion. With that, I end my question. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer.
Councillor Javon Williams, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. I say a pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, members, my fellow colleagues on the minority and the majority. I say a pleasant good morning to the members of the public, the members of the media, and for those that are viewing online. Today I stand to affirm that empowering men in leadership and reclaiming men's role in Tobago's development is important. It's not a matter that needs time to debate or to go back and forth, but it's a matter of urgency.
Don't worry, I know. Leave was not asked for, and you're reading. Please be guided by the standing orders, Councillor. Members, please have a seat, Councillor. The crosstalk needs to end. Leave is granted, Councillor. Continue your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. This is a matter of urgency, not only for just Tobago, but for the entire world. If Tobago must rise, we believe that men must be empowered. Men must be encouraged. The entire society benefits from men being empowered and encouraged. Positivity can increase, male strength can increase, teamwork amongst men can increase, and putting male hands to positivity can increase the nation of Tobago. Communities can strive, family stability can happen. And without men, oftentimes we see indiscipline, anxiety, emotional issues, academic issues, high-risk children amongst our schools. Boys may lack boys may lack role models in their homes. They may lack disciplinarians in their homes. They may be confused, lacking understanding of purpose and vision. Girls can struggle with self-worth and form unhealthy attachments seeking male affirmation. There was a time where men stood as the central pillar of the home in communities. They were mentors, they were coaches, they were communicators, and they were the central pillar of many of our institutions. That's why we propose this motion for men to be integrated, men to be viewed upon, men to be invested in our communities and this nation. Mentorship programs, we aspire. Community responsibilities, we aspire to have. Male empowerment grants, mentorship programs, financial literacy programs, conflict resolution skills. Empowering men isn't about leading or allowing men to dominate over women, but for them to partner with our female counterparts and help meet. Across Tobago, too many men are trapped in unstable jobs, seasonal labor, for example, construction, or simply just hustling. These jobs bring time-to-time finances, unstable economic empowerment for men, leading them to invest or to turn to grievous ways of making finances meet their family needs or to meet their needs daily. Imagine the average tradesman not only working for a day pay, but owning an enterprise that will allow them to employ others and empower other men, or by extension, even women. Moving from this hustling but to owning enterprises, moving from instability to influence, they become employers, investors, leaders, and ones who are investing in our economy. Empowering men in leadership and proclaiming men roles is about bringing balance to Tobago's development. When men are empowered to lead, work, and create, crime decreases, economic growth happens, and families gain strength. One of the greatest institutions in the world, the family institution, if strengthened, it produces better homes, it produces better children, who would grow to be better teenagers, who would grow to be better adults, by extension, better leaders, and by extension, a better nation. Empowering men and proclaiming men roles is a vital part of Tobago's development. Moving forward with good morals, critical thinkers, and people who are strong in vision and purpose. As I conclude, I quote from Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28, and it says, Then God said, let us make man in our image and likeness, and according to our likeness, and let him have dominion. Men, we are called to have dominion. We are called to understand our identity and partner with women to make our nation, to make our world a better place. I quote from Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 12, and it says, There is a way that seems right unto a man, but then that way can lead to destruction.
Member, your time has expired. Member for Bethel New Grange, Assemblyman Tinashe Greenwich, you may now join the debate.
All rise.
Member for Bethel New Grange, Assemblyman Tishani Greenwich, may join the debate. Please be seated, members.
Mr. Presiding Officer, members of the public gallery, members of the media, and to every assemblyman and councillor Good morning and happy International Men's Day in advance. Mr. Presiding Officer, I seek leave according to Standing Order 42.6 to read extract from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
Mr. Presiding Officer, yes. Yes, men are disproportionately affected by mental health. Yes, men face an identity crisis. And yes, International Men's Day served as intended. Mr. Presiding Officer, the challenge raised by the minority are validated and forms the basis of our ongoing work in the Tobago House of Assembly. Mr. Presiding Officer, an article published by Newsday highlights, and I quote, that every man across the world are silently struggling with depression, trauma, and other mental health issues. And approximately 83% of all suicide victims have been men. I end quote. Mr. Presiding Officer, I stand with the minority on their stance that men are severely and disproportionately affected by mental health issues. However, I must question who on the minority constructed this motion. It is of utter disrespect to already existing program. Mr. Presiding Officer, I believe the minority is suffering from a fundamental confusion regarding the nature of this motion, but rather the lack of publicity and the enhancement of the already existing program. Mr. Presiding Officer, I advise the minority to go back to the drawing board and come again. I must enlighten the public that we, the majority, are not starting from scratch. We have a robust, legally mandated framework like the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, which is already explicitly tasked with gender-responsive health and social care. The Tobago Regional Health Authority provides essential clinical and psychiatric support. The 800 COPE, which is a free hotline, free of charge, intended to efficiently support persons with crisis issues related to suicidal ideations, abuse, anxiety, and much more. The Tobago Regional Health Authority hosted a mental health village where several booths were set up, each dealing with different aspects of mental health, in commemoration of World Mental Health Day in 2024. In addition, there are psychological first aid courses, a training program that teaches individuals how to support people in psychological distress. Mr. Presiding Officer, it is clear that the minority is faced with comprehensive flaws because the proposed resolution is a call to structural redundancy. It asks us to create a multi-sectoral program to do exactly what? What the 800 COPE hotline is already doing, to duplicate mental health village, or to re-mandate the THA to do what is already mandated and funds and reports on. Mr. Presiding Officer, it is just not clear. Our strategies are clear, however. They are not only clear, but they are quantifiable and effective. The majority alleges a need for a new program, yet they ignore the robust success the system already in place. The 800 COPE, the Minister of Social Development, Family Services revealed that in recent 4 months period from October 2024 to January 2025, the National Hotline received nearly 2,000 calls. This engagement averaged 500 crisis calls per month. They fail to mention the work of the Division of Sports, Youth Affairs, which implements mentorships and mentorship skills, training programs designed to foster discipline, teamwork, and responsible role models. Mr. Presiding Officer, I plead with the minority. I beg the minority to be smart about the approach. Let's not waste funding on formulating another multi-sectoral program, but rather the enhancement and the publicizing of the already existing ones. Mr. Presiding Officer, and as I close, I advise the public to be there for one another, love one another, and be friends that many never had. Mr. Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Member for Mount St. George Goodwood, Assemblyman Edison Thomas, you may now join the debate.
I thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Members of the minority and the majority, councillors, members of the public, members of the media, everyone here in the chamber, I want to take this opportunity to wish an early International Men's Day for all the men of Tobago and by extension Trinidad and Tobago. Let me take firstly what is my little time to extend commendations to somebody in the chamber, through you, Mr. Presiding Officer, of course, Mr. Rondell Fields, because he has been doing yeoman service to the fathers of Trinidad and Tobago, and I just want to commend that. All right, I have a little bit of time. Take it easy. Right. So, we on this side can recognize when to give Jackie jacket. You understand? So, we're giving Mr. Fields his commendations and his big ups. Right. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to caution the member who spoke before me. The minority never said to start from scratch. We are simply saying from the past term that they have been in office, coming up to almost a full term, enough has not been done. And so this motion we are begging them to support is for them to do more, not to duplicate, but to do more. Let me go into my contribution. Mr. Presiding Officer, we are seeing the degradation of what it means to be a Tobago man, husband, and father in real time. I grew up in Golden Lane. Before I assumed this position as the member for Goodwood, I was
Members, I'm on my feet. No crosstalk. Please proceed. Member for Mount St. George Goodwood.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Before I assumed this position, I grew up in Golden Lane. I'm from Seaview, Golden Lane. And the examples that we have had coming out of Golden Lane were men that were pillars of the community, not doctors or lawyers or engineers, although Mr. Ochoy Charles hails from that esteemed district. But men who were standing in the gap for their families, tradesmen, fishermen, plumbers, carpenters. I never see one man in Seaview call a contractor outside to build a house. It was a community effort, right? And that is part of the male identity that we have strayed from. Only two generations, and I don't have to tell the House the state of that district today. Mr. Presiding Officer, as a father myself, I struggle. And it is hard for me because even though I'm honored to be here today to debate, when I was doing my preparations, it saddened me to see the state of the affairs and how men are treated. I'm speaking about when I had to stand in for the birth of my daughter. And after going through that process, I had to sit in a bench outside of the maternity ward. If we're saying that we want to do this thing proper, do it the whole way, not just allowing men to see the birth, but also accommodating them after it is done. More struggles. And I'm tying this back to struggles personally as a father. When my wife had made our child, I was trying to get leave, enough leave to be with her in that recovery stage. Thank God for my mother and my mother-in-law, because I wasn't getting opportunity leave to help her. How come 14 weeks of maternity leave is recognized in law, but we could only get 3 days as a CPO recommendation? It means what the state is saying to me as a father, that we recognizes the mother's role in law, but we only tolerating the father's role in practice. It could never be. How come that even a woman or a mother who is uninsured under the current NIB scheme can still be reached through an insured father with a maternity benefit of $3,750, but still no paternity benefit? Make it make sense.
No cross talk. Yes.
Members, please be so guided. Member for Mount St. George Goodwood, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. What this says to me, Mr. Presiding Officer, it's saying that the men are payers and the mothers are beneficiaries. And seeing as though the current administration in central government advised the NIB to raise the NIS contributions from January 1st, 2026, and we still don't have opportunity benefits, what is it saying to fathers? Are you encouraging us to participate in fatherhood? No. I keep on hearing the majority saying...
Member, your speaking time has ended.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I humbly request that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to complete his presentation.
Honourable members, the question posed is that an additional 2 minutes be given to the member for Mount St. George Goodwood to continue his presentation. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. You may proceed, Mr. Assemblyman. Member for Mount St. George Goodwood.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Now, let me get to the meat of it, because all I'm hearing from the majority is gristle. All right? Let me get to the meat of it. Let me make it uncategorically clear what we are demanding. First things first, we want the THA to adopt a policy for 1 month paternity leave for fathers. We can lead the way for the entire country in that regard, until it is recognized in law, of course. We also want to petition the National Insurance Board through the central government, of course, to extend the same $37.50 as a one-time paternity benefit for fathers in the first instance, even at the second instance. We also want that a men's advocacy group be formed at the level of the THA in order to advocate for all gender-related programs to make sure that men are included in all of these programs.
Members, no crosstalk. Member for Mount St. George Goodwood, please proceed.
As I close, Mr. Presiding Officer, I bring to you this quote: "Strong men create good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men." we in this chamber must support this motion. It only takes a strong man to support this motion. Sometimes I question the other side. Because when men strive, women strive. When men strive, boys strive. When men strive, countries strive. And it's only when men strive Tobago can realize its potential as the greatest little island on this planet. Thank you.
Member for Bonaccord Crown Point, Assemblyman Tyrone Utley, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Please allow me to recognize my colleagues in this constructive debate, both on the minority side and the majority side, as well as those in the viewing and listening audience. Mr. Presiding Officer, I must confess, I am not the orator that my colleagues are, so please give me leave on Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my speech.
Leave is granted.
Mr. Presiding Officer, let me begin by declaring my support for the essence and intent of this motion put forward by the minority. I agree that the minority has a true assertion that in advancing the economic and political status of women, our society has given an unfair and artificial bias against men and boys. The resulting challenges facing men and boys in our society is indeed unique. And in fact, in my humble opinion, it has not received anywhere near the attention that it deserves. However, Mr. Presiding Officer, this is where my support ends. These issues that affect men are but symptoms and scars of a broader epidemic eroding the family unit in Tobago. We have lost the societal structures such as the extended family and a sense of community, which once anchored us, gave us purpose, identity, and a sense of social belonging. Gone are the times when the village raised each child, when your neighbor looked out for your neighbor. So, while we must address the crisis facing men, the entire home is falling apart. And this motion simply seeks to prop up one side, while everything else is falling apart. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, how do we respond to this challenge? We here in the majority have sat in deep consultation, and while this did not include the minority, I will still share some of those initiatives which we are still discussing and will carry to consultation, which is something that the minority does not normally do. So I will just highlight some of these in the interest of time. We propose to institute a state-subsidized universal childcare, which would allow every member of the family to participate economically. It would relieve the burden on parents and allow families to survive. Secondly, we propose to coordinate after-school programs which will partner the schools, the PTA, religious and other social support organizations, which will provide much-needed support to the vulnerable children which are left alone as our women strive for advancement and our men struggle at the corner and the block. This initiative will also help to recover much of the productivity lost between the disconnect of school times and work times. As many of you know, persons leave the offices at whatever time to have to go and pick up their children, and the offices are left with low productivity. As an assembly, we will strive to aggressively support curriculum development for all students. This, in fact, this is a system in which we will accommodate slow learners, particularly our boys, which will allow for them to receive both financial and academic support to bring them up to the level that they deserve. We also propose in this initiative to have a dual track so that students who are so desirous can move to a parallel technical vocational training system, which allows for continued academic learning. And lastly, as an assembly, we strive to incentivize male participation in education, but also in social services, sports, and even childcare. We are of the belief that male teachers aren't just here for disciplining troublemakers. They are the positive role models that inspire and guide our young men and women. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion, which seeks to increase the number of good men in our society, it doesn't work. But I say, a good man is made better by the love and support of an equally yoked partner and the strong fruits of his lineage, so cultivated to multiply his riches. I thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Member for Mason Hall Moriah, Assemblyman Stephon Isaac. May now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I seek permission under Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts of my speech. Mr. Presiding Officer.
Member. Leave is granted. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. What you saying there, member? Mr. Presiding Officer, distinguished colleagues, members of the public, persons viewing online, I rise today, Mr. Presiding Officer, to lend my voice to this matter, this long, widespread matter, in private but seldom addressed in public. The crisis facing Tobago men. For too long, the challenges of our men has been buried under the weight of expectation to be strong and silent, even after the world around them changes faster than they can adjust. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago man is in crisis. He stands at the crossroad in shifting cultural, social, and economic pressure. Traditionally, our men were providers, protectors, and heads of households. But in today's Tobago, those traditional roles are being redefined. Economic changes have reduced opportunities in fishing, agriculture, construction, in the construction industries, where men once found identity and pride. Socially, the rise of single-parent household, often headed by women, means many boys grow up without strong male role models. Culturally, expression of masculinity are being challenged by new ideas of gender equality and identity, leaving many young men unsure of their place. And perhaps most alarmingly, Mr. Presiding Officer, the mental health issues facing among men are on the rise, often hidden behind masks and bravados. Men are less likely to seek help, more likely to suffer in silence, and more likely to engage in destructive behavior when overwhelmed. Mr. Presiding Officer, studies show that men are 3 times more likely to die from suicide than women, and less likely to access counseling or therapy. Here in Tobago, we see this reflect in the rising rates of substance abuse, domestic violence, school dropouts, and crime among young males. When men suffer, families suffer. When fathers are absent or broken, communities are weakened. Mr. Presiding Officer, the motion before us today called for action and the establishment of a sustainable multi-sectoral program under the Tobago House of Assembly to address these challenges. Across our communities in Tobago, we see men who have fallen through the cracks, unemployment, isolated, and homeless. Yet there are few spaces that cater to their rehabilitation and empowerment. We propose the establishment of a men empowerment center that provides counseling, job training, and traditional housing. By lifting up men, we reduce crime and substance abuse and strengthen our families. Mr. Presiding Officer, paternity fraud. Councillor Fields gave us a statistics just last week. Mr. Presiding Officer, I continue. Paternity fraud is not just a legal issue. It is a mental health one for us men. The emotional toll on men can be devastating, Mr. Presiding Officer. We call for a clearer legal policy and accessible DNA testing alongside counseling and meditation services. This is not about fairness or building trust in our family system. Mr. Presiding Officer, we need a new structural men and boys mental health framework in Tobago within the Division of Health. This would address mental, physical, and social well-being, including suicide prevention and emotional education for boys in school. Let's make men mental health policy a priority, not a side issue. Gender equality must mean equal attention, funding, and care for both sexes. While we continue to empower our women, we must also invest in our boys' mentorship programs, men support groups, and male-focused wellness programs, Mr. Presiding Officer. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is not a motion against women. It is a call for balance, for healing, for partnership, for progress. If we uplift our men and boys, we uplift our families. If we give our Tobago men tools to redefine themselves, with confidence and compassion, we secure a stronger, safer, and more united Tobago. Let us act now with courage and compassion to restore the identity and well-being of our Tobago men. Mr. President Officer, I thank you.
Member for Boko, Mount Pleasant, Assemblyman Shaquille Williams, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good morning. Good afternoon to Mr. Presiding Officer. Good morning to the Minority Council, and good morning to my colleagues. Good morning also to the listening gallery. Mr. Presiding Officer, I stand leave of 42.6 to read from my extract.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I humble rise in support of this motion on the observance of International Men's Day. The motion invites us to look honestly at the condition of our men and boys in Tobago, not in turmoil, but in real life being lived in our homes, schools, community, workplace, and sometimes on the streets. The Tobago men is facing pressure that many does not see, and even few are willing to talk about. We often speak of strong men, the provider, the one who must hold everything together, yet rarely acknowledge what happens when the man himself began to fall apart. Mr. Presiding Officer, we seen fathers from their children due to broken relationships and court systems that struggles to keep peace with the emotional related relations of family lives. A man who cuts off from his children is a man stripped of his greatest reason, live and growth. When we heal this, we heal generations. We also seeing who are the homeless or moving from crotch to crotch in silence, are sheltered and empowered, centered of women, and praises due to that. But the same support does not exist for men. When the man has nowhere to go, no support system, and no place to seek proper hardship and the spiritual and productions, we must also speak painfully about suicide, the rate amongst men in this country. It is significantly higher than the amount in women. There are not statistics. Those are brothers, cousins, schoolmates, co-workers, and we know that when men reaches that point, it is rare. It is rarely sudden. It is the results of years of swallowing pain. Violence also claimed many of our young men. Our murder rate is driven highly by loss of boys who never transform the nation's safety into the healthy manhood. If we fail to invent early, the streets will continue to teach the schools and homes have not been supported to do. Part of restoring.
Member, your speaking time has ended.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I beg to move that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish his presentation.
Members, the question proposed is an additional 2 minutes be granted for the member to continue his presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Part of restoring dignity and balance in acknowledging that fathers require meaningful paternity leave, not taking leave, not a few days, a rare opportunity to bond with their children and strengthen the family structure. A legal 8 to 12 weeks permanent leave, paternity leave, is policy reshaping fatherhood, family stability, children development, and gender partnership in Tobago. We must also address the reality of paternity fraud with induced families and leave for long-lasting emotional, financial wounds. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion call for men and boys health framework that is cultured, grounded, and accessible, a framework that makes physiosocial support a standard and not a privilege. It also calls for development of education approach that seek direct to boys, not discipline them in silence, but to teach them emotional, intelligence, communication, accountability, and aspiration. We are also asking for equality in the state of cooperated funding social programs where the well-being of girls.
Members, the speaking time has ended.
To know how long the member needs again to finish his speech. This time has elapsed.
All right. Member. Members, I caution you. Member, your speaking time has ended. Member for Bagatelle, Bacolet, Assemblyman Keith George, you may now join the debate.
Thanks very much, Mr. Presiding Officer, for the opportunity to participate. Thank you. Thanks very much for the opportunity to participate in this debate. And I've been waiting in the winds. It has been blowing very stormy. However, for the majority, not having a rudder, it poses a challenge. Let me make one public disclosure. Mr. Presiding Officer, and let me first ask for and crave your indulgence for leave to use excerpts from my transcript under Standing Order number 42.6.
No patience, no patience.
Members, leave is granted.
Thanks very much, Mr. Presiding Officer. My disclosure is that in 1980, in the Judicial Court in Bacolet, I was an invited guest to witness the start of this assembly. And I'm delighted that 45 years later, I'm again invited to participate in the first men's debate 45 years later. Mr. Presiding Officer, this for me is a gold bar moment. And I would recognize very much on the majority side, I don't think any of them is anywhere close to that long history. Mr. Presiding Officer, the matter at hand, identity crisis and health crisis among men, is best described as a conundrum, a big confusion, a big challenge. Nonetheless, we, on the minority side, I want to congratulate my colleagues for crafting and bringing to this House a well-conceived, groundbreaking, trend-setting debate. A motion that cannot be disputed. And this International Men's Day brings attention to the challenges faced by men in every society. The evidence speaks. In the Tobago setting, one of our major health institutions, 72% of the persons who receive mental health treatment are males. And 88% of their cases are less than 60 years old. It is a matter for our youth and the majority side to consider This presents a serious challenge to the family income, the local health services, family health, the labor force, and GDP. The question of unsolved trauma with cross-generational impact has its own dynamics. Euranism, and I will help my colleagues with that, it speaks to homosexuality, a new trend that is developing among our males, imported behavior associated with gang violence, another challenge, landlessness and homelessness, a matter that is supported very much by the majority. I wish that they will stop and think for a moment why there are so many homeless people when they are responsible for house construction and land distribution. The disputation here today.
I stand on a point of order 44.4. The member is using improper language in the House. 44.4, it shall not in order use offensive or insulting language about members.
Continue to waste the time. Members, I am on my feet. Please be so guided. You may proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Presiding Officer. It's interesting that the majority is so easily offended. The circumstances in Tobago calls to order. Desperate times demand desperate action.
Very true.
We cannot afford the body count, the loss of the male capital of Tobago. I've heard the majority said on a number of times, blood thicker than water. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is as misleading as it is. Yet they believe that. The statement really reads, the covenant of the blood is thicker than the water of the womb. Today, an extensometer will be applied to measure the deformity of the majority team when placed under pressure. Can they covenant with the men of Tobago and with the majority to save the men of Tobago? It requires blood majority. We, the minority, are determined to stop the untrammeled, precipitous, cascading fall of our men with surgical precision. Identity. I've heard it a number of times. The psychologists say it is the cornerstone of mental health. Man, know thyself. Identity leads to vitality, coping skills, self-esteem, and self-determination. Identity gives birth to authenticity. The truth, we are losing the authentic Tobago man at every level. Let us throw out the lifeline and save our men and secure the juvenescence of our boys. Let us make Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. I know it would have escaped your attention, but yesterday was Remembrance Day parade. Do you know what Remembrance Day stands for? November 11th is actually the official date for Trinidad and Tobago Memorials Day. It commemorates the service of men/soldiers who fought in World War II. Let us end the battle for our men. Let us commemorate and celebrate our men rather than eulogize them. Let us give our men an unfettered passage
to authenticity. We have nothing to fear except we forget the way our men have led us in the past. Let us make our Tobago men great again. Today, the minority boldly declares, in this house, the Tobago man matters. We call upon the majority to support this motion without delay.
Member, speaking time has ended.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I humbly request that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to complete his presentation.
Members, the question posed is that an additional 2 minutes be granted to the member to continue his presentation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say no. The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thanks very much, Mr. Presiding Officer. And thanks very much to the majority team for recognizing how change moves. Today, women are breaking glass ceilings everywhere. This is because they completely regard the sign that reads, "Your man is in the room." We, the minority, stands as victorials. We have a vicarious responsibility to protect our men, and we shall discharge that responsibility with supreme jurisprudence. We shall make Tobago men great again. The work of Single Fathers and the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, UNICEF, and many other organizations are well known. Nonetheless, this House has a responsibility to our men, and we must not leave it to another generation. Or it may read, visiting the iniquities and the failures of this House and our fathers onto the third and fourth generation. We don't want that to happen. We are committed. We are committed for results, and we will save our men and boys. We have covenanted with our blood. We will make them great again. In closing, Mr. Presiding Officer, this motion bears the hallmark of democracy, led by the minority and supported by the majority, a reflection of balanced judgment in unity and purpose. Today is not a sip and argue, or an extempo, or colloquial. The House is not an abattoir that will preside over the slaughter of our men and boys. The majority team will not sacrifice, and we will not allow them to sacrifice our Tobago men and boys on the altar of frivolous arguments. They will covenant with their blood and our men and boys, and they shall agree to save our men and boys by their blood. The majority will acknowledge that the vision requires a multidisciplinary approach. However, in the interest of time today, but as for those who have gone before us, let us leave for them behind us a heritage of devotion. And may all who come behind us find us faithful. Mr. Presiding Officer, thank you.
Councillor Akeem Allen, you may now join the debate. Members,
thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, and thank you to my colleagues and all those watching. To speak on the struggles of boys and men, do you create me and I Yes, and today I must criticize this motion in a major way. The lack of collaboration between the prior government and men's interest groups in dealing with this grave problem. Mr. Presiding Officer, I seek leave on Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. As the recently appointed Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Mr. Presiding Officer, I have been made aware of a Men and Boys Conference in July of this year by the prior government. In it, everything from gender norms to mental health were discussed. And while it sounds great, you know what it led to? Another conference, Mr. Presiding Officer. Mr. Presiding Officer, it's clear that our men and boys are not worthy of meaningful collaboration between the prior government and men's interest groups. To me, the minority gets gimmicks and talk. On my desk as Self-Secretary, I have come across the 8th report of the Joint Select Committee on Human Rights, Equality and Diversity in 2018. In it, both the state and relevant groups were involved in several discussions. And you know what happened afterwards, Mr. Presiding Officer? Absolutely nothing. So if they haven't cared then, how can they care now? When we take a look at our women and girls,
Members. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. When we take a look at our women and girls, it's clear that our preference has developed over time. When we have the URP Women's Program, the Women, Peace and National Security Action Plan 2025 to 2030, enacted by the then Ministry of Gender and Child Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister, and even genuine international support from the European Union and the United Nations with the Spotlight Initiative. Mr. Presiding Officer, if I can list this and so much more for women and girls, where is the same local, regional, and international support for men and boys for the previous administration? Mr. Presiding Officer, the mere idea that one of the organizers of this very debate can admit that there have been several women's debates from the previous government, emphasis on the previous government, not our administration, Mr. Presiding Officer. Unlike what a certain majority leader had said earlier today, for them to say such falsehoods with them knowing that they have not done enough for men and boys is truly ridiculous. For me to list all these programs and initiatives, it is not out of supposed hate towards our women and girls. But who wants to live in a society where the Trinidad Express can report that 260 out of 324 suicides between 2019 to 2021 were men? Who wants to live in a society where 72% of secondary school suspensions are male according to the Ministry of Education? And who wants to live in a society where the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has data with over 5,000 out of 6,008 prisoners committed to prison in 2023 who are men as well? What are we doing, Mr. Presiding Officer? It is clear that our men have become the underclass of society. When this motion is passed and a committee is formed, we in the majority will expand paternity leave from 3 weeks to 6 weeks to deal with this, to resolve this problem. Member for Mount St. George, Goodwood. In regards to our boys, we have formulated a men's school caravan dedicated to reach them in our primary and secondary schools. And for elderly men, we are working on the creation of men's social clubs to reduce loneliness and depression. Mr. Presiding Officer, while we agree with the basis of this motion, many can say that the motion was rushed and therefore drafted poorly. We can speak to slogans, programs, and what can be done differently. But every waking moment is a boy lost to addiction, to crime, to mental illness, and suicide. If we don't act now, we will lose even more lawyers, doctors, businessmen, and police officers. But we intend to make a difference. This is not time for talk, it's time for action. I know that for the sake of our men and boys, we will create a better future.
Councillor Alex Job Thomas, may not join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, for allowing me to join this debate, speaking on a very pertinent matter. And allow me to wish men in Tobago and the nation an early International Men's Day as well, right? But before I start, allow me to invoke Standing Order 42.6 to read excerpts from my presentation.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. So I sat here and I heard the minority leader, he asked for a moment of silence and said boys are vanishing under this administration. But his colleagues were in charge in Trinidad. Yeah? And let me read some statistics for you, because clearly he has short vision or short memory syndrome. They said in 9 days, kind of thing. Let me read some statistics for you. In 2022, the total amount of murders nationally were 500, for males, 548. One of the records in this nation. Where was the minority leader? Where he was? And by the way, the Ministry of National Security at the time was headed by a male. Some let's call him Pop City Rasta, but not today. But he was headed by a male. And that male didn't want to say nothing about Tobago at all. He didn't even know Tobago exists with that individual. And the minority leader was quiet. They didn't say a thing. Mind you, 548 males were vanishing. 2023, 523. Where was the voice of the minority leader then?
Very corrupt.
Where was he? He said nothing. But they had the unmitigating goal to come in this place.
From the other side, the government was corrupt. This is impeaching the government.
I did not say that. I did not say that. Thank you.
It is still spoken in the House.
Allow him up to rule now, man.
Members. Member, please be so guided. Proceed.
I don't know what you're talking about, you know. You have to know me and tell me what. Like he is easily offended. Yeah, it's the guilt. But what I was saying, they had the unmitigating goal to come and accuse us here and say men are vanishing under us in Tobago. On very unrealistic minority. So let me also get into my presentation. When I entered the Division of Education, Research and Technology, I decided to speak with my technical team. And I discovered a very untenable situation. I discovered a situation where we had a very low number of men in our teaching service. And in speaking with these technical persons, I was made to understand that men are not nurturers. And it had me thinking. So I decided to check the definition of nurture, because they say men are nurturers, so something wrong. And I checked the Cambridge Dictionary, and it defines nurture to take care of, feed, and protect someone or something, especially young children or plants, and help him, her, or it to develop. Nothing wrong with that. Good definition. Then I decided to check the example. So here's the example. She wants to stay at home and nurture her children. The dictionary. They're really emphasizing that men are not nurturers. They want people to believe, because I ain't seen no example with a male involved. But they want to say she. And that is very unfortunate. That's not the system. That's the system I met. That's the system they neglected to fix. And let me give you the information in terms of the amount of teachers in the system. In the primary school system, we have 43 teachers. Mind you, out of 41 schools, we only have 43 teachers. Mind you, the total is 437 teachers in total. And out of that is only 43 male teachers. Yeah, they didn't fix that. In the secondary system, we only have 101. Right? Total, 431. Very unfortunate. But you was there for 20, well, how much? How long you was there for? 21. And you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. You shouldn't be telling me nothing. Mr. Presiding Officer. Oh, big God.
Mr. Presiding Officer, the member seeks to continuously address my member, not through you, which is against the standing order. We cannot speak to our members directly.
Member, please be guided.
When the member interrupted me, I will respond to them, right? Know that. Anyways. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is the position that we find ourselves in, unfortunately. And I must admit that men in this society nurture different to women. That's a fact. But that should not invalidate the way men nurture. It should not. So let me tell you what would we intend to do at the Division of Education. Currently, there are no incentives for men to enter the teaching service. And this secretary intends to propose changes. We are proposing, along with my colleague, 6 weeks maternity leave. But we have an unfortunate problem. This has to happen. Paternity, sorry, if I misquoted. At least you're listening. You're listening. Yeah, there's listen. So the motion vague. Yeah, I don't know nothing or two. Remember the chief said intellectual malnutrition? Yeah. They have to listen.
Member, your speaking time has ended.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I beg to move that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish his presentation. Thank you.
Members, the question posed is an additional 2 minutes be given to the member to continue his presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Any against? No. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
And before I continue, can I ask you to caution the public gallery, please? They are disrupting me, especially a certain young lady in particular. Thank you. Please caution them.
Members of the gallery, you have been cautioned.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Anyways, let me point out that what is happening in the division. So in order to implement such a policy, we have to have collaborative conversations with Twitter, the Ministry of Education, the Teaching Service Commission, and us in the division to ensure that it's across the board, because we don't want our men to be disproportionately affected. So in closing, Mr. Presiding Officer, in closing, we are fixing this. We are fixing this. That's something they don't know about at all. They can't fix nothing. Nothing at all.
Yeah, they could fix themselves.
Yeah, they can, correct. They can fix themselves. And I want to remind the minority leader in particular that performance beats all talk.
Member? You are asked to retract your statement.
Mr. Presiding Officer, what are you speaking about? I didn't say that they are fixing themselves. But anyways, I will retract, just for the sake of the debate. You could clap now, you got a little win. But let me point out, we are fixing this, so let them take that, put that in a pipe, and smoke it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Minority Leader, you may now wrap up your debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Let me start off by thanking the majority for supporting the motion. For the first time in history, we have a majority that understands that when a good thing is brought, that they must support it. I must. But there are some things that we need to focus on, Mr. Presiding Officer, that they would have mentioned. I recognize that some of the members opposite are misguided and or misinformed. And some need to go to the dictionary to read. The thing, Mr. Presiding Officer, is that I want them to recognize that this motion was brought by the minority, which signifies their inability to govern. It shows that they have sat silently, recognizing that the men of Tobago have been suffering and have done nothing. But today, my wish is that when the history is written about this sitting, that we put the politics aside for the greater good of the boys and men of our society. Because what is important, Mr. Presiding Officer, what is important is not the picong or the back and forth, but the policies that we implement to ensure that we protect the young men and boys who have no voice for themselves. The thing is, for far too long we have allowed our boys and men to fall by the wayside with no one to protect and or defend them, while we, the men of society, have sat in offices with the ability to put policies in place, but have done nothing. For 4 years, your administration can be summed up as nothing. The thing about it is, you would have spoken about crime rate and central government, but you have recorded the highest crime rate in the history of the Tobago House of Assembly under your 4-year term. Under your... I recognize you have problems, but I'll leave you alone.
Members, I caution you. Please proceed.
Thank you for your protection, Mr. Presiding Officer. I need it from the vagabonds in this house. Mr. Presiding Officer, as I continue, I want this house to remember where this motion came from. It came from the minority recognizing that there was a gap that needed to be filled. And the thing is that while the majority may govern, and I want to make it clear, while the majority may govern, the minority will continue to lead. But I want to make it abundantly clear that when the time comes to vote on this motion, I want you to put politics aside. And I want you to vote for the boys and men who cannot sit in this chamber, who have put you in this position to speak and vote on their behalf. So when you vote today, vote not for party, vote for the young men and boys who need our help. And I pray to Almighty God that when that time comes for voting, that you would put the politics aside and vote in the best interest of Tobago. Because if you do not do that, the blood of the young men who continue to go to the gallows by themselves would be on your hands. And that would be the legacy of your administration. So as I rest, As I rest, I want to remind you that if we do not build boys with purpose, we will have to fix broken men tomorrow. I thank you.
Honorable members, the question put is, whereas International Men's Day highlights the importance of addressing the unique challenges faced by men and boys in society, and whereas the Tobago man faces an identity crisis in the midst of shifting cultural, social, and economic pressures, and whereas men in Tobago are disproportionately affected by mental health struggles, including rising rates of suicide, substance abuse, and unresolved trauma, be it resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly establish a sustainable, multi-sectoral program to effectively address the challenges plaguing men in Tobago society, including, but not limited to, men's mental health, positive male identity, and the teaching of healthy and responsible coping mechanisms. Be it further resolved that the Tobago House of Assembly foster collaboration among governmental and non-governmental organizations to restore balance, empower men, and strengthen the social fabric of Tobago. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Clerk.
Members, you are asked to vote yes or no. Member for Betesada Lescato.
Yes.
Member for Palativale Lansome.
Yes.
Member for Bellegarde Glamorgan.
Yes.
Councillor Akeem Allen.
Yes.
Councillor Alex Joe Thomas.
Yes.
Member for Mason Hall Maria.
Yes.
Member for Scarborough Mount John Grace.
Yes.
Member for Malacor Crown Point.
Yes.
Member for Lambole Lowlands.
Yes.
Member for Bethel New Grange.
Yes.
Councillor Rondell Fields.
Yes.
Member for Boko Mount Pleasant.
Yes.
Member for Mount St. George Goodwood.
Yes.
Councillor Javine Williams.
Yes.
Member for Signal Hill Patience Hill.
Yes.
Member for Roxborough Argyle.
Yes.
Member for Bagatelle Bacalet.
Yes.
Member for Darra Spring Wim.
Yes.
Yes, 0 no.
Honorable members, Honorable members, a division, there is 19 yes, 0 no's. Motion carried.
Motion for adjournment.
Leader of Assembly Business.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Before I adjourn, I would just like to say that we don't need a motion to treat men better. And I think the minority needs to understand that you spent your time not treating.
Members. Proceed.
Before I continue, I would like to give special thanks to Ajay Allen and Justin John, as well as the Let's not also forget the presiding officer, Aitya. They did such a wonderful job on putting together this all-men's debate, and I would like to congratulate every man sitting around this horseshoe right now. They did such a great job. Nice. Mr. Presiding Officer, well, they didn't do a, you know? Oh, God. Right, Mr. Presiding Officer, I beg to move that this House now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed.
Members, the question is that the House now stands adjourned on a date to be fixed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned for a date to be fixed.
Thank you.